I remember just taking a walk down memory lane 4 long years ago when the Lord first spoke to me about this thing called Gppa. What a mystery. What a daunting task. It all began with having a simple, deep burden for my country, Nigeria. 2017, where the nation was going through very turbulent, difficult, traumatic times politically. The Lord said to me to begin a prayer, just to pray for Nigeria, presumably for only 1 month, September 2017.
Apostle Gppa is someone that I've followed closely for several years, and if there's anything I know about him, is that he hears God clearly. So when he came up with this idea of us praying online, it was not because there was COVID or anything like that. It was a new thing to us to be praying online. And he trained us on how to go about that, and we started praying.
When Apostle first announced that we were going to pray for a month in September 2017, it was to pray for Nigeria. For me, it was very welcoming because really at that point, Nigeria was going through so much, and honestly, prayers for Nigeria were in order.
It was quite exciting knowing that we're going to pray 1 hour in the Spirit for 30 days. And it looked like the 30 days would never finish. But when we started getting used to it. And we started having instant results. I, especially myself, being a businessman and had a lot of things to handle in and out in Nigeria.
When Gppa started, the first week, it was like, yeah, this sounds interesting, and really loved it. By the second week, there was a kind of, for me, inertia that started to come in, but I knew it was a 1 month program. So I was like, you gotta do this. So by the third week, we're like getting into the groove. By the fourth, we're like really into it. And then it was to end, it was like, how can they change the question when I've just known the answer? And so when Pastor came and said he was going to take it to the end of the month, it came like good news from a far country.
It began on the first day. And the mandate at that time was pray for your country. I shared this thought with a few people, my wife, and a few people who I thought will help me to get along in terms of the technicality, the wherewithal, what platform, how, where, when. And the first thing that came to my mind was to create an online radio station to be able to transmit these prayers for 1 month, presumably. And the birth of Rogic Radio, a 247 online station, was born. And we began the journey. September 1 came, we prayed for 1 month, every morning, 5 a.m. Never done that before, to be honest.
The backend staff had to make sure that all things were in place. We ensured that there were uninterrupted power supply all through the prayer sessions daily, uninterrupted internet. We went as far as having multiple networks on standby for backup. No issues with all the hardware, softwares used for the broadcast. So many things were put in place to ensure the smooth transmission of this prayer daily.
It was exciting because I'd never prayed on social media before. So we're like, okay, let's see how this would go. So we all were excited. I had a book where I wrote all the prayer points, and I was really, really happy and all of that. In fact, in that book, I wrote all the prayer points, Bible passages, everything. So I was more like a reference point to a lot of my friends who would call like, oh Liz, did you get this prayer point? Oh Liz, did you get that prayer point? And I would always happily send it to them and all of that.
Well, when Apostle said we're going to pray beyond 30 days, initially I was like, well, he must have heard something from God. So we continued. And never imagined that it's going to be on for 4 years running. It's been wonderful.
For me, it was a new thing, and it was a blessing for that period of time. And it wasn't any strange thing to me when he said God wanted us to extend it, because I believe that the reward for good work is more work. And Apostle Gppa truly heard God, and the blessings and the testimonies that came from that period of prayer was more than enough for us to embrace the new that God wanted to do in our midst.
It's one thing to pray for yourself and pray in your closet, but to be aware you're leading multiples of people in the nations in prayer. Quite a heavy responsibility. And we prayed. We came to the end of the month of September 2017. I thought, what a sigh of relief. I've obeyed God. The Lord said, I'm not done with you yet. I said, hello? Done what? He said, go ahead and pray to the end of the year. Oh boy. But I kind of believe that this might be longer than the end of the year. But at least I said to people, let's pray for the next 3 months. We did that. Of course, we came to the end of December 2017, and it was very clear to me that this was beyond what I thought a seasonal prayer meeting that will gather the people all over the world to pray. It looked like this thing, this mystery, this miracle called the Gppa, the Global Prophetic Prayer Altar, had now come to stay.
We understood and saw from the back end how so many countries logged onto Facebook and Instagram pages, and also how many around the world logged onto Logic Radio. There was a day we looked at the back end reports and we saw people from Niger, from Cameroon, Egypt, Dubai, Turkey, China, Afghanistan, UK, Germany, US, Canada, Australia, you name it. They were all logged into this altar. That was when it hit me. That was when it dawned on me that this is a serious business, that is a serious thing that we are doing here. And it can only be God that made this possible.
And as we continued, the testimonies were there and evident. The souls were being saved, men's souls were being revived, healings, deliverance, and the outstanding testimonies were more than enough to confirm that God indeed was with us in this new way of praying.
Good morning, sir. I am Sister Eunice from Gppa. I want to bless God for this ministry. God has blessed me through this ministry since 2020 when I was seriously sick. I bless God today. Since then, I have been participating in every morning devotion. And I bless God because now I am healed. The Lord has touched me tremendously. Secondly, I had been looking for prayer partners since this platform, this altar has served as enough prayer partner for me. I bless God for refreshing. I bless God for revival in my spirit. I bless God for all that the Lord has done for me in this ministry. He has healed me. He has restored my joy, the joy of salvation. I'm always happy every morning that I tune in and I receive the blessing. I bless God. God will continue to bless you in Jesus' name. Secondly, I have worked for almost 32 years and nothing to show for it. I prayed for God for a house of my own. I had trouble because of all the problem I have had financially, but I could not show anything for it. But this year, as I was praying to God, I should give me my own house wonderfully. They said somebody want to sell a house, and it was for 4 million naira. I didn't have that money. I could only raise 2 million from all my account till I will retire. But I thank God because the man accepted the 2 million naira and said I should pay the rest 2 million naira later. I have moved. He asked me to move in. I have moved into the house. I am now in my own house. Although I still owe him 2 million naira, I know the Almighty God who has provided this, who have made this way, will help me to pay the 2 million naira the way I cannot say. I still trust God. If God can do this, I know He will pay the 2 million naira. I bless God for God has done for me through this ministry.
In one Gppa session, you can get as much as 30, 50, Bible passages, or let me not exaggerate, up to 20 or more. But you see, there are certain things that come across to you, and that is that we are praying the mind of God.
My name is Ajewale Olanyinka Moses. I'm from Ekiti State, but I live in Oshogbo. I have been partaking in Gppa devotion every morning before on Rave FM every morning. So, but I have been partaking in communion. But this morning, I was feeling sick, like since Monday. I have, maybe it was malaria or anything, but there is no money to go to hospital. But I was just managing myself and continue praying. But this morning, as we are partaking in the Holy Communion, so as you are saying that is Holy Communion is what make us strong without sickness. As you are saying it, another thing just come upon me. I take it and I feel that something have changed in my body. I manage myself to pray. Even as I was praying, it wasn't convenient. But immediately as I take it, I see that something changed. In the next 1 hour, I can feel that there is no traces of that sickness in me anymore. I am free. I can do anything. I don't even remember now, even that maybe I was sick since Monday. It was a great testimony.
The Lord brought about clarity as to what the vision was. And there were 4 cardinal legs to the vision. Number 1, certainly to be a catalyst to disciple the nations in the art and the business of prayer. So it's not about some great man of God praying for people to get miracles. It was about us praying and learning to pray. And he said to me, "Can you not tarry with me for 1 hour?" Then I remembered the master requested for his disciples, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, to pray with him for 1 hour in his moment of need. And I said, okay, it's something about 1 hour with the Lord corporately. The next thing was to be a platform to awaken the gifts in the hearts of people in the nations. And truth be told, as we've prayed, giftings have been awoken in hearts. The third thing was to release a very definite impartation of mantles amongst those who pray. And we've seen that come to pass. And the fourth was to be a rallying point where the nations will pray and stand on particular things and see God move his hand in nations. On these 4 points, the vision was clear of Gppa. It was so clear that I knew it wasn't about a local assembly, a man of God, a church. It was very clear it was to be kingdom-minded and Christocentric, all about Jesus. Multitudes in the nations from different walks of life, different denominational beliefs are very comfortable to pray on that altar. The Catholics, the Anglicans, the Presbyterians, the Foursquare, the Baptists, and the Pentecostal are very comfortable because all about Jesus. And I really thought, could I make this beyond a year? But you know what? 1 year came, we celebrated the first year Gppa festival anniversary, and I said, my goodness, we've got to celebrate. Year 2 came, year 3 came, and here we are on to year 4, and I'm deeply humbled how God has been so faithful. You know what it means to wake up every morning, not just at 5 a.m. You've got to rise to prepare to lead the people. So as I look at what God has done, it's mind-boggling, it's mind-blowing. It has to be God.
We all know all that God has done. A lot of people have been healed. A lot of people have been blessed with the fruit of the womb. A lot of people have been truly strengthened by that which God is doing at the other. But there's one that really touched me. With someone that was at the verge of committing suicide, had to send a mail that by virtue of him praying and engaging at the altar, he was able to change his mind from killing himself. That is something only God can do. And that is a testimony I'll never forget.
In July, this year, 2021, my daughter had a very critical health challenge. And I became scared because she needed an operation. But thanks be to God, Apostle Goodheart kept declaring, "You shall not die but live, and our children too will not die but live." So I keyed into this. It strengthened me. My daughter went in for the operation, and to God be the glory, she came out successfully.
When you spend time with God, He would not only change things, He will change you. Now, there's always a rub-off in God's presence. When you spend time praying like He has taught us to pray, there are certain things that will just fall off. There are habits that will fall off. There are your natural proclivities that before you know it, you can't find them. Why? Because you spend time in the presence of God. They burn like chaff. They burn like chaff before the fire, and it's like wax before fire, and like chaff before the wind. They disappear. And I have personal testimonies to that regard. And when you spend so much time praying in the presence of God, He shapes you, He renews you, He strengthens you. There are times that I've been so weak and due to the events of the day, but when you get to the altar, you receive strength. And you just know that God truly is the one that sustains us and keeps us in His presence to renew our strength and perfect all that He's doing in our lives. The altar has truly been a blessing to me personally, and in more ways than I can mention.
Praying on the altar for 4 years, I've had amazing testimonies. Some from other people, some for myself. But a particular testimony that still strikes me every day was a particular day when it wasn't even Apostle praying, incidentally. It was actually Pastor Bimbo praying. Sometime in October, 2 years ago, she was praying that morning and she said, "A lot of you here, God is going to start paying you your 13th month salary. And if you've worked in the bank, you will know what a 13th month salary is. A lot of you are going to start getting rewarded ahead of December. A lot of you from today will start receiving gifts." And that day, by evening, I got a gift of a car. I didn't even pray to God about a car. I didn't know who sent the car. And I called Apostle and I was afraid. Like, somebody sent me a car, I don't know who it is. And the person refused to give their information, saying, oh, if they let her know, she would call everybody to start thanking us. And Apostle reminded me, but today, Pastor Bimbo prayed and said, we'll start getting our 13th month. My daughter, carry your 13th month and go and thank God. So for me, that stuck out. That was a material blessing. Another testimony I have was last year. I lost my sister last year. And for me, that was the worst part of my life. It was a down season. It hurt me so badly. I felt angry with God. I felt, did I not pray enough? Was there something I should have done I didn't do? And at that point, I had my parents looking at me, my younger ones looking at me, a lot of relatives, all seeking to draw some kind of strength from me. And I really had no one to draw strength from. As angry as I was with God, I just had that thing inside of me that said, please, you need to pray. I'll get on the altar and I wouldn't be able to pray, but I'll just stay there. And somehow God just strengthened me by the day. Every day, one word always came that would keep me for that day. So for me, it was more like, you've served the altar, now it's time for the altar to serve you. So for me, that was a testimony that God kept me and kept my heart in place. I thank God.
I went through a very unique, challenging time in Botswana, and it was Gppa that just kept me going. Several, attacks I had. It was Gppa that, just did it for me. Repeating some of the words and knowing that, yes, 5 a.m. I'm going to have another word. I'm going to have another dose of energy. To be able to combat the powers and the forces. So Gppa became, my oxygen, and I just have to be on it to stay alive. So Gppa literally kept me alive for those 8 months.
Have I had testimonies? Oh Lord, you better. It's given. I'll just give you a little bit. Some days back, the whole of the housing committee of the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, they came to Uyo to visit my site. And it was something awesome. For you to appear before the Senate committee is big deal. For the Senate committee to come to Uyo, to your site, hold a press conference and declare that this is the best of the sites they have visited in the Federal Republic of Nigeria. That's big deal. That can only come from God. That is a big testimony from Gppa.
Like Nicodemus said concerning Jesus, of a truth, no man can do these things except God be with him. In this case, be with us, the global family in the nations. And God has really been with us. And I'm so humbled at the impact, at the reach, the growth in lives all over the nations. And this 4th year calls for a great opportunity to return back to Jesus, who began this, to give him thanks and praise for his marvelous help in 4 years.
Gppa is so word-based. So word-based. I mean, every 1 hour averagely, I checked, you have about between 9 to 12 scriptures. And sometimes, maybe if it's Pastor Bimbo, she takes a particular verse or chapter in the Bible, and we're dealing with it with prayers for 1 hour. And you see the impact. You see it almost immediately, almost before you get to the 12 noon program. So it deals with everything because it's word-based. So it's so potent.
And if you listen to Apostle Goodart and you truly come to the altar to pray, you will realize that he's not dealing with issues of the outer court. He's taking you into the Holy of Holies. He's taking you into the deeper presence of God. He's not trying to tell you about bread and butter, trying to tell you about car and house. Those are crowd that you find, those are the crowd you find in the outer court. This is someone that has experienced the presence of God, the inner Holy of Holies, and is taking us and everything possible to put and drag us into the very essence of the presence of God. So Gppa is not for those that don't desire the inner presence, the inner Holy of Holies, the place where God dwells. It's not a place for the crowd. It's a place for those whose heart really wants to engage this God that has come to love us this much.
Those 4 years, we've seen the rise of many such prayer altars in the body of Christ. It's such a joy to see multitudes in the nations now rise up early, just like the Master did, to pray to Jesus.
When Gppa started, one of the things the Apostle said the first year was that God told him that Gppa was going to birth a prayer revival in the land. It was going to birth a prayer revival in Africa. It didn't make sense as much. It didn't seem like it really made much sense. But during the lockdown, when we were praying, we had 3 watches during the lockdown. And then you turn on social media and you see different altars were being raised. Different people were praying. Initially, as a human being, in your head, you say, why are they all praying at the same time when Gppa is praying? But it also hit me that this was what the Apostle talked about in 2017. Gppa has actually birthed prayer revivals. People are praying.
Just from July 2007, there was no online terrestrial prayer altar. A month later, August 2017, the Global Prophetic Prayer Altar started via online and terrestrial radio. Today, without mentioning names, several prayer altars have sprung up. As many, as my apostle would always say, the more the merrier. Over the 4 years, we have received calls, we have received text messages, we have received WhatsApp messages, we have received emails, and even people have come to us and said they have been blessed by praying along with Apostle Goodart on Gppa. Over the past 4 years, we have had mind-boggling testimonies. Over the past 4 years, we have had how those that never had a prayer life now have a prayer life. Over the past 4 years, we have had how those that never knew God now have a relationship with God. I was further moved when a 70-year-old woman will be the one calling us to tell us that the radio station in her state was not live with GPPA. If a 70-year-old man can be so addicted to praying on the GPPA altar, then know that heaven is rejoicing on this altar.
I'm humbled to see the growth of prayer in the nations. We cried for revival for many years. We've begun to see splinters and sparks and flames of revival in homes as many people in the world have begun to pray in this manner. What really seems to have been the pinnacle of all this is we never knew there would be a day, there would be a thing called pandemic, when men in the world, they locked in at their homes, couldn't go out. And it became so necessary, absolutely, for ministry and church to be done through the platform of social media platforms, online, streaming. In the past year plus, many people have had to do ministry through a similar platform that God began with us when there seemed not to be a reason or a need. Oh no, it wasn't because it was a need. It was born out of an instruction and a vision 4 years ago. Today on GPPA, we're so glad to know that the reach goes beyond the social media platforms, Instagram, Rogic Radio 247 online station, YouTube, Facebook. But you know what? There seems to be a joker God had in mind, what is called the terrestrial FM stations in the nation Nigeria. From the core north to the south, the east, and the west of Nigeria. 25 out of 36 states. It's humbling. Every morning, people in villages, buses commuting from here and there, on the plane sometimes, on the train sometimes, in their offices, in their kitchen, in the comfort of their bedroom, they tune to their radio station just to be a part of this amazing moment with their master at the GPPA prayer.
GPPA program has been able to bring together all the Christian denominations together through devotional service in the morning on Ray Power 106.5 FM. So we're proud to say we are the connect with the people in Kano.
It has been an awesome experience with our listeners. A lot of testimonies have been trooping in. Any day we have technical problems and we're not able to transmit, you see calls coming in that a lot of listeners, including myself, have adopted the morning live program as our morning devotion. So a lot of people follow it, and then a lot of testimonies have been trooping in. Some cannot even, they cannot even live without it now because it is part and parcel of their family devotion.
People would even know sometimes to send you messages, especially if there's a challenge, maybe network or any other technical challenge, and then the prayer segment couldn't come up for that day. They'll send you a message, to jokingly say, well, how come we didn't hear any, the hot speaking in tongues that comes with the prayer section in the mornings. And yes, of course, it's been fantastic. It's been amazing. And we just want to pray for more grace, so that at least the man of God and those who God is using to sustain this program.
I'm humbled. I wonder what next God will do beyond the 4 years. I don't know, but I know something about God we serve. The path of a just man shines brighter and brighter, even to the day of perfection. Remember what it is that God told you to do? That seedling, that dream, that vision you ignored, you overlooked. I think you should go back to that dream. It may just be a point that God will use to bless many people beyond you. Communities, cities, and perhaps the nations. Go back to that dream. Fan the flames again. Do what God asked you to do. You'll be amazed how many more in the world will be so blessed with your obedience. God bless you and a happy anniversary to all of us. God has been faithful. The best is yet to come on GPPA.